Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove and I'm back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I received over the last 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you're currently taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at fitcosgrove_. All right, let's get started with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number 1. Nick, what do you think is more important to have, pretty muscle or functional muscle? Well, honestly, both are important to have. But if you're asking me what most people who come to work with me or who are referred to work with me want, they would tell you they're looking more for the pretty muscle over the functional muscle. Okay. The great thing though is if you are training for the pretty muscle or for aesthetics, the functional muscle should come as a result on top of that, right? Here's the thing. When you're following a bodybuilding type split, okay, and you're creating that solid, lean, dense muscle that I've talked about in the past, that muscle is not just there to look good, but you can also have it to create functionality in your own body. It'll allow you to move faster throughout the day. It'll allow you to do day-to-day activities like carrying grocery bags, right? Carrying boxes. Your day-to-day, you'll be stronger, right? Your overall health will be better, right? So it's a byproduct of training just for aesthetics, right? So I've always told people if vanity gets you into the gym, great, but that's a short-term goal. You have to have a long-term goal as well. So it can't just be, I just want to look better. That's great if it gets you in, but you also have to think, okay, well, if I'm in this game for the rest of my life, going into my 70s and 80s, it's not going to always be about looking good, right? So it's also about, can I create functionality in my muscle bellies? Yes, absolutely. Now, the thing is, though, one of the reasons why most people do come to work with me is because they do want to transform their physique, right? Either they want to lose fat, build muscle, or a combination of the two. So if that's the case, I'm not going to have that client balance on one foot on a Bosu ball or do 100 burpees in a row because that doesn't serve any purpose to their goal, right? Now, if someone is trained purely for just functional muscle bellies, I could see where, doing those balance techniques might help, right? And constant core strengthening and work on the TRX. But that is not going to create a solid, lean, dense muscle foundation. Okay, it's not. You need to stimulate muscles with reps, with weight. You need to create resistance, right? So doing all that core and stability work, I mean, it's great to strengthen your core. It's great to improve your balance and coordination. But this is where I think a lot of trainers miss their mark is that when a client is telling you, hey, I want to lose 30 pounds, your job is to help that person lose 30 pounds. That should be your sole focus, right? That should be your primary goal. The secondary goal can be, hey, we know what, we're also going to improve your balance and coordination, right? We're going to also make sure that you have proper core strength and core stability so you don't have lower back pain. Those could be, secondary goals, but you have to always remember your client's primary goal. And if that client is saying, hey, I want to lose this much weight, I want to build this much muscle, laser focus, those are your goals. Goals can change over the years, but this is one of the reasons I believe I have a high retention rate is because I listen to my clients' goals. And not every client has the same goal, right? But it's important to listen. So if you're asking me what's more important, functional muscle or pretty muscle, well, they're both equally important, but it really depends on the individual what he or she is primarily focused on achieving at this certain part in their fitness journey. Okay. So again, a lot of people I work with, most people I work with, they come to work with me because they do want to transform their physiques. They want to improve their health. They want to look good. They want to feel good. Okay. They don't really care about balance and coordination or strengthening necessarily their core. That will happen as a byproduct, though, when you are following a bodybuilding training split. Okay. So it's not just about pretty muscles, but again, it really depends on what the individual's goal is. Okay. So they're both equally important. If you're asking me the type of people that work with me, most people that work with me, I bet if you were to ask them, they would tell you, yeah, we want to create pretty muscle. We want our physiques to change. We want to lose fat. We want to build muscle. Okay. So in that case, it's the pretty muscle. But I say both are equally important. And I always tell people if you are following a bodybuilding type training split with high volume training, double digit reps, very minimal rest between sets, you're not only are you going to create an aesthetically pleasing physique, but you're going to create a physique that has functionality to it. All right. Next question. Okay. Nick, are there any cereals that are somewhat healthy to eat? I can't stomach oatmeal or cream of rice. When it comes to cereals, I'm not a huge advocate of them, but if you're going to have them, my recommendation is something just like plain Cheerios. There's really nothing that bad in Cheerios. Or you can have Weetabix. Okay, so those are the two cereal brands that I recommend to people. I usually tell people to stay away from things like corn flakes. Corn is not good for you. Obviously, stay away from things like Frosted Flakes or Lucky Charms. Those things are loaded in sugar. Vector is terrible. Vector is marketed as like a sports food for like athletes, and that's to me that is like the worst type of promoting for health whatsoever. Okay, so Vector is another cereal that I would strongly advise people not to have. That is just like having junk food in a box. Now, if you're going to have Weetabix and you're going to have Cheerios, which are the two cereals I recommend, and you're going to have that with milk, my recommendation is to stick to either almond milk or skim milk. Okay, try to stay away from the 2% milk. Obviously, stay away from homogenized milk. But you don't want milk that's too high in fat, right? So we don't need that fat. So my recommendation is stick to something like almond milk, skim milk, even oat milk. Oat milk's not terrible. It's a little bit high in calories. That's why I usually recommend people to go with the skim milk or almond milk, but a little bit of oat milk is fine. Okay, so if you don't like oatmeal, you don't like cream of rice, those are the two choices I'd recommend. But don't forget too, there are other options besides just oatmeal and cream of rice, right? For example, if you're someone who likes to have toast in the morning, you could have Ezekiel bread, right? You can have some Ezekiel bread. You can have a poached egg with that. So you can have eggs and toast, right? There's also the cardinal bread, right? It's very low in carbs. It's a ketosis type of bread. So there are other options than just cereal or oatmeal cream of rice, okay? I have some people that like to just do avocado on Ezekiel bread, right? That's fine. You can do that too. Or natural peanut butter on Ezekiel bread. That's a great breakfast right there. So it doesn't just have to be oatmeal. It doesn't just have to be cream of rice. But if you are going to stick with a cereal, my recommendation, just stick with plain Cheerios or Weetabix and mix it with skim milk, almond milk, or oat milk. All right, next question. Nick, if you don't check body fat levels or monitor the weight on the scale, how do you know if your client is progressing with their physique? It's not that I don't check weight on the scale. In fact, my clients who work with me online, during their weekly check-ins, they usually send me two check-ins, and I ask them to send me their weight. Usually, my Canadian clients on Tuesdays and Fridays, my American clients on Mondays and Thursdays. Okay, so I do just like to see where the weight is at, but I don't use that as a reference point to make changes. I just like to have an idea of how their weight fluctuates throughout the week after a cheat meal or towards the end of the week on the plan, just so I understand their body a little bit better. Does this person retain water? Is this person has a faster metabolism? Someone who actually like drops water very quickly, like myself. So it really depends if I'm working with man or woman. So that's really why I asked the weight on the scale. Okay. So, but I really rarely make changes based on the scale alone. Okay. But I do ask to see that number. Now, as far as what was your other question as to uh, monitor body fat? Yeah, I don't take body fat levels. Never do that. Why? Well, you got the mirror right in front of you. Are you still fat? Is it still jiggling? Can you still pull it? Keep going, right? You're not there yet. So I always tell people how you can tell if you're progressing with your physique is I understand it's difficult when you see yourself every day, so it's really hard to see those changes yourself. But when other people start noticing those changes, that's one way of telling yourself, hey, I am progressing with my physique. Another way is how your clothes fit. So if you notice that, for example, if you're a guy and your jeans start to get a little bit more loose around your waist, that's a good indicator that your body fat's going down, right? Or if your t-shirts are getting tighter around your arms, that's a good indicator that you're putting on some muscle in your biceps, right? Same thing for women, right? It's the exact same thing. If they start to notice that they go down one or two dress sizes, well, guess what? You're losing body fat. So that's a good indicator right there, right? So it's not always about calipers and numbers. I'm not against that. I just have always been gone for the old school approach is how you look and how you feel. And I think that probably comes from when I used to compete in bodybuilding because judges would purely judge you on just what they see, your physique. They don't care how much cardio you did. They don't care how hard you had to suffer on the diet. They don't care how many training sessions that you did. None of all that's irrelevant. They're judging what they see in front of them, your physique. So again, this goes back to the first question. Most people who come to work with me, they want to transform their physique. So if your body fat one week says 18% and then 3 weeks later it's down to 15%, Okay, great. But do you see the changes in your physique? Not necessarily. It's only 3% of body fat. Keep going. Okay. I've seen a lot of people get satisfied too easily when they see a number on a scale go down by like 3 or 4 pounds in a week. They're like, wow, I deserve a big cheat meal or have a cheat day, or I can take 2 or 3 days off from the gym. I've seen that happen. So I always tell people never be satisfied. Okay. Keep pushing yourself. So you have an idea of what you want to look like. Do not stop pushing on the gas until you get that physique that you want to look like. Okay. Don't stop pushing on the gas until you feel better about yourself, so that you're more confident in yourself, right? That your workouts, you have more energy, right? So that's why I tell people never be satisfied and don't just focus on numbers, okay? Because if all you do is focus on numbers and you become one of these people that just wants to, focus on the mathematics and they want to calculate every single calorie and macronutrient and micronutrient, and you're overcomplicating shit, okay? Use the mirror. Go by how you look, go by how you feel. Okay. Those will be your major two indicators as to whether or not you are progressing with your physique. If you still feel like you look like shit, guess what? You're not progressing with your physique and you got to change things up. Okay. Or if you still feel like, hey, you know what? I don't look how I want to look, but I notice I'm getting stronger in the gym. I'm moving faster in the gym. I feel more energized outside. Keep going because the aesthetics component will come. Okay. As long as you start to feel better, you're starting to feel more energized, you're sleeping better, your strength in the gym is stronger. Those are all indicators that you are progressing with your physique. Okay. So don't get caught up on numbers. To me, those are all minute details that really don't need to be focused on. And if anything, they can really mess you up, whether it's going in the right direction or the wrong direction. I feel it can really mess someone up. All right. Okay. Okay. Next question. Nick, do you think it's shallow to want to date someone who is fit and in shape? I work out 5 times a week and eat super clean. I want to date men that take care of their bodies and not just let themselves go and get fat. My sister thinks this is very shallow of me, but I take care of my body and want my partner to do the same. I see nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you take good care of your physique and your health, why wouldn't you want your partner to do the same? Right? I was having this conversation actually with one of my clients earlier this morning. I say, yeah, the more in shape you become, you might, your standards might be elevated. And I don't think that's a bad thing, right? I don't think that's a shallow thing. I think that, like, hey, you know what? I take good care of my health. I took good care of my physique. I follow a clean diet. I want to be with someone that does the same. I don't really see anything wrong with that. I've always talked about that. Not necessarily attracted to someone who goes to the gym 5 times a week, but I do want to be with someone who actually does take care of their health. Absolutely. You don't want to be looking after someone when, you're in your 40s or 50s, right? Because they didn't take care of their health. So I think it's important to have standards. And if you yourself is someone who does work out on a regular basis and does take care of not just your physique, but your health in general, of course you're going to be attracted to that. You're not going to be attracted to someone who's going to sit at home all day and just smoke and drink, right? Or go to the bar. It's not an attractive quality, right? Now, if you're someone who does do that, well, then yeah, you're probably going to be attracted to someone that does that. So I don't think it's shallow to want to be with someone who is not necessarily at your level of fitness, but at least making an effort to take care of themselves, whether it be following a clean diet or going for regular walks, just overall making sure that they're taking care of their health, right? So that's what's always been important to me. It's not necessarily the aesthetics component that's important to me. It's more important that someone is actually actively taking care of themselves. Okay. Because that translates to other areas of their life. If they're taking care of their health, they're probably taking care of their finances or taking care of their career. So that does have an indicator of where someone's going in life. If someone's just letting themselves go on their fitness, I question, how strict they are with their finances. I question how strict they are with their career. I do. So I don't see anything wrong with that. You're attracted to what you're attracted to. Okay. I think there's a lot of people that actually don't work out or don't take care of their bodies, yet they want someone who's in great shape. I'm like, well, hold on a second. That person is not necessarily going to want you. So you got to level up, right? So if you are attracted to someone who's got a great physique and who obviously takes care of it, then you yourself have to make sure that you're doing the same, because it's not fair for that person to be with someone who's just doesn't really care about their outer appearance and how they're feeling. So yeah, that's my opinion on that. And so I don't see it shallow. You're attracted to who you're attracted to. You want to find someone that you have common ground with and that you're compatible with. It's most likely going to be someone who takes care of their body and their health like you do. Okay. Nick, if I want to get bigger, should I only stick with the mass gaining exercises like bench press, squats, and deadlifts? I'm thinking if I do each of these exercises 3 times a week, it will help me add on more size to my frame. Then in the fall, I can add on other exercises to help bring out more definition in my other areas. Do you think this would work? Um, I honestly wouldn't recommend it. I know if you look at a lot of the mass gaining plans out there, they'll say, yeah, improve your bench by benching 3 times a week, your squat, your deadlift. And I understand that a lot of powerlifters train like this. The problem is when you train like this, it's going to create a lot of muscular imbalances. And you actually see this with a lot of powerlifters. A lot of powerlifters get injured. It's not just because of the amount of weight that they're lifting, it's because they have muscular imbalances because they're only really focusing on 3 or 4 major lifts. So this is why it's important to focus on multiple lifts, right? And work multiple muscle groups directly and indirectly. So when you're doing a bench press, yes, your primary muscle group is your chest. Your secondary would be your deltoids. You're using your triceps. Hell, you're even using your lats to stabilize. So you are using a lot of muscle groups, but indirectly you're hitting those muscle groups back there besides the pecs. So you want to give the lats their own day. You want to make sure you're doing lat pull downs, wide grip, closed grip, bent over rows, and so on, T-bar rows. You want to make sure that you're giving triceps their own day where you're doing rope extensions, V-bar press downs, skull crushers, right? So you want to make sure you're giving your shoulders their own day where you're doing shoulder presses, lateral raises, rear delt raises, upright rows. This will stop you from creating any muscular imbalances with your physique. If you have muscular imbalances with your physique, A, you're going to look stupid. You've seen guys like with massive upper bodies and these skinny little legs. It looks ridiculous. And B, you're going to be more prone to injuries. Okay. Because if you have one muscle group that's overly developed and one that's underdeveloped, guess what? If you're doing a lift in the gym, that can easily equate to an injury. Easily. I've seen it happen before. Guys who love to train their arms. So their biceps are ridiculously strong, but their back is not very strong, right? And all of a sudden they get an injury in their lats, they tear a lat, or they strain their lower back because they're not training their back because, oh, I can't see my back, so why train it? So I've seen this happen before with men, some women as well, but primarily with men who want to work the muscle groups that you see, the chest, the biceps, the delts, right? And they neglect the areas they don't see, like the back or the legs. So I wouldn't recommend doing something like that. I'd still recommend just sticking to a regular bodybuilding split. Bench press once a week, squat once a week. If you want to deadlift, deadlift once a week. Go all out, but make sure that you use maximum amount of intensity, high volume, high repetitions, minimal rest period. Okay. Create a bodybuilding split so you're in the gym 4 or 5 times a week. I've talked about this in the past. If you're in the gym 5 times a week, I think a great split: chest and abs day 1, back day 2, shoulders day 3, arms day 4, legs day 5. Then take 2 days off and repeat again. Okay. And if you do that, honestly, you should be able to put on size as long as your diet's in check, right? And you're making sure that you're resting, you're sleeping, you're hydrating, you're supplementing properly. You should be able to put on size. Okay. So I would not neglect the other exercises. I would not focus on just 3 or 4 exercises a week because, as I said, that's going to create muscular imbalances, going to put you more at risk for injury. And honestly, your physique is just going to look stupid. So I wouldn't do that. Okay. I'd follow a bodybuilding split so you can build a solid, lean, dense muscle foundation. Okay. Okay. Nick, I've been following your 8-week nutritional plan for 2 weeks and I've already lost 10 pounds. The only issue is that I'm experiencing constant gas throughout the day. Is this normal and will eventually go away, or is it something that I'm now stuck with since changing up to a healthier diet? I think I had a similar question to this from another client who recently started working with me this week or a few weeks ago as well, when it came to gas and bloating. And I'm going to tell you, when you clean up your diet, if you're someone who follows a diet that's not the best, you're having a lot of junk food, you're having a lot of processed carbohydrates, a lot of sugar in your diet, and all of a sudden you switch from following a diet like that to following a fairly clean diet that's full of vegetables, full of complex carbohydrates, healthy fats, lean proteins, your body is going through a huge adjustment period. Okay. And what happens is whenever I work with someone who's following a bad diet and I switch them to a good diet, the first thing that, well, not the first thing, but one of the things that they do notice is that they actually do start to have a little bit more gas, a little bit bloating. This is very common. Okay. The reason for that is because we are increasing your fiber intake. For a lot of these people, they don't even have any fiber in their diet. Most people who come to work with me, one of the first things I look at is they're lacking fiber. And then they wonder why they only poop every 3 or 4 days. I'm like, you don't have any fiber in your diet. Okay. And I always tell people, I know it sounds graphic, but you should be at least taking 1 or 2 poops a day. Okay. If you're not going to the bathroom, and if you're not, by the bathroom, I mean, if you're not going shit at least once a day, there's something wrong with your digestive tract. Okay. You should be going every day. Okay. Not every second day, not every third day, every day. Okay. So one thing you're going to notice is that, yeah, you're going to start passing more gas because there's an increase in fiber. Now, your body will adjust to this. Our bodies are very resilient. So the longer you put your body through something, the longer it will adjust. So yes, it does take time. Will it happen in 1 week? No. 2 weeks? Probably not. It usually takes most people anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks to adjust to a nutritional plan. Okay. And not just with gas, digestive tract, people notice a lot of burping. This is very common. So I attribute this to fiber. Okay. Don't decrease your fiber, but what I would recommend doing if you're finding it's becoming a constant problem, switch up the type of green vegetables you're using. So if you're someone who's using green beans, switch over to spinach. If you're someone who's using spinach, switch over to broccoli. Okay. Or mix up your greens on a daily basis. So have broccoli one day, spinach one day, green beans one day. Okay. As I mentioned last week on the channel, I recommend people, especially on a weight loss plan, consume green vegetables because green vegetables are what we call fibrous carbohydrates. Okay. So unfortunately, that is sometimes a result of increasing your fiber intake. You will notice an increase in gas. Okay. It's not bad. It's not dangerous. And I promise you that within 3 to 6 week period, that will stop. Okay. Your body will adjust to the plan. So you have to keep going. Okay. I know it's uncomfortable, but just remember, you're doing something good for your body. Okay. Because you want to make sure you're getting in enough fiber, not too much fiber, because too much fiber can actually cause constipation, but enough fiber so that you are regular. And as I mentioned, if you are not going poop at least once a day, you need to get that checked out. Okay. You need to change up your diet because a lot of people think going poop once every 2 or 3 days is normal. It's not normal. I promise you that's not normal. Okay. So change up your diet or go see your doctor. Because if you're someone who is only going to the bathroom once every 2 or 3 days, not healthy. You got to get that checked out. Okay. Nick, do you recommend supplementing with vitamin D in the summer as well, or should I just use it in the winter months only? I get asked this question a lot, and I always tell my clients to supplement with vitamin D year round. Okay. Generally, I recommend that men supplement with anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 IU a day, and women anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 IU per day. Okay. It does help when you're getting sun, right? Especially in the summer, but your body doesn't take in vitamin D the same way from the sun that it does in a supplement form. Okay. So a lot of people who stop taking vitamin D in the summer, it's like, oh, I get enough sun. It's not the same. Okay. So you want to build up your vitamin D receptors. You want to make sure that you're getting a stable amount of vitamin D throughout the entire year, right? So you don't want to be going through peaks and valleys. And the problem is if you're relying on the sun, well, not every day in the summer is going to be sunny, and you're not going to be out in the sun for 7, 8 hours a day. I mean, most people are not. So you have to factor that in, right? Getting in the sun for 20, 30 minutes is not going to be enough to supplement 3,000 or 2,000 or 1,000 IU of vitamin D. So this is why I recommend people stay on vitamin D year round. Again, you're not going to do any harm by staying anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 IU of vitamin D per year, okay? Or per day, sorry. But I wouldn't recommend exceeding that dose, okay? We don't want to put too much unnecessary strain on the kidneys or the organs. So 3,000 IU would be the max, but honestly, stay on it year round. You're not going to have any negative side effects from that, and you're going to feel constantly energized throughout the entire day. Okay, so I wouldn't rely on the sun. I know a lot of people think it's the same. It's not the same. Okay, do your research. Don't take my word for it. But if you're asking me, my recommendation is stay on vitamin D year round. As a woman, anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 IU per day. As a man, anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 IU per day. You can adjust that based on your activity level, based on your body weight, how many times a week you work out with weights, or you go for runs, cardiovascular activities, swimming, whatever it is. Okay, so you can customize that for you. All right. Okay. Nick, I've heard you say that the metabolism doesn't slow down with age. If this is true, why do most people gain weight as they get older? Multiple reasons, but it has nothing to do with metabolism. Usually as people get older, they get more busy with life. They have kids or they have grandkids. As we get older, we put more mileage on our body. So if you're someone who's not already working out on a regular basis, you might start to notice that you have drops in energy. You feel more lethargic. A lot of people too, as they get older, especially if they're not working out on a regular basis, they're more susceptible to injuries, aches and pains, lower back problems. That makes it very hard to be more active. So they become more sedentary as they age, right? Another thing too is when people, as they age, a lot of times they get very stuck in certain ways with their diet plan, more stresses in their life, whether it's their career. So maybe they start drinking more, right? They're relaxing more. Maybe they've established themselves more better off financially. So they've taken their foot off the gas in that way. A lot of times people just become more comfortable as they get older, right? So they look for life's little comforts. Like I said, drink more, eat worse diets, go to restaurants more often because they have more money. But it has nothing to do with metabolism. Okay, it really doesn't. That's a poor excuse because I train people who are in their 60s and 70s, and I'm not kidding you. A lot of people I train in their 60s have six packs. So why hasn't their metabolism slowed down? Right? And the reason their metabolism hasn't slowed down or why they haven't gotten fat or why they are not gaining weight is because they're staying on top of their training and their diet. Okay. So as long as you remain consistent with your workout program and your nutritional plan throughout your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and so on, there's no reason as to why you would be putting on body fat as you get older. When you look at a lot of people who are older now in their 70s and 80s, if you talk to a lot of them who are overweight or who have, health issues, a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time is because they were not working out on a regular basis. They were not following a clean diet on a consistent basis. So now you see, as they get older, they're putting on the weight for those reasons I mentioned. They've become more sedentary. They've become more comfortable in life. And a lot of the aches and pains and injuries from not working out, from having weak muscle bellies, has had them live a very, very sedentary, inactive lifestyle. So this is why people are gaining weight. It's not because the metabolism slows down with weight. There is not one study that proves that your metabolism slows down as you get older, okay? Or I haven't seen it, okay? So from everything I've read and researched, it has nothing to do with the metabolism. Some people are born just with a slower metabolism. You see, like when I work with people on their nutritional plans, I can give two people the exact same nutritional plan. One person will lose 2-3 pounds a week and the other person won't lose anything. So that person who's not losing anything, I've got to start cutting their calories, right? Because they have a slower metabolism. So yes, some people have faster metabolisms than other people. Those people are what we call ectomorphs, whereas people with slower metabolisms are called endomorphs, right? And then you have someone who's a combination of the two, which we call a mesomorph. So you're born with your genetics, you're born with your metabolism, and you have to work with them, not against them. If you were chubby as a kid, well, you're more prone to get fat as you get older. So therefore, you have to make sure that you're on top of your diet plan year round. If you're someone who struggles to put on weight, that doesn't mean you get off easy though, because that means you can lose muscle very easily. So you have to make sure that you're eating on a regular basis, but eating a good, clean diet, not full of like chips and cookies and burgers and fries. So, it works both ways. So a lot of people who have a hard time losing weight, they hate people who have a hard time gaining weight. But you talk to most people who have a hard time gaining weight, and they'll tell you it's very difficult for them to consume all the food that they need in order to put on muscle. Okay. So it works both ways. And remember, just because you look healthy on the outside doesn't necessarily mean that everything on the inside is going well, right? I know a lot of bodybuilders who have problems internally, whether it be high blood pressure, they've had strokes, they've had heart attacks. And I mean, these people look amazing, right? And it's not just because of the drugs. They weren't really living the lifestyle. They may have been working out, but they weren't necessarily following a clean nutritional plan. Okay. So the two go hand in hand. So as long as you're consistent with your diet and your training, there's no reason why you should be putting on any weight as you get older. Zero. All right. Last question. Nick, do you think lifting weights regularly can help lower anxiety and depression? I know there are studies that prove cardiovascular activity can do this, but have you read anything about how weight training can help regulate our emotions? Um, I don't think it's just cardiovascular activity. I think it's exercise in general. Okay. Because when you exercise on a regular basis, your body releases endorphins, right? Endorphins are those feel good chemicals that allow us to feel good, put us in a good mood. And they do help regulate not only our emotions, but our moods in general, right? I don't think exercising regularly is necessarily a cure for depression, especially if someone suffers from severe depression, if they're bipolar, right? Maybe they have schizophrenia. I don't think it's necessarily a cure, but I think it can help, can definitely assist. So whether that means cardiovascular activity or resistance training, even going to yoga, Pilates, anything that just gets the body moving. Okay. So I think, again, I'm not going to tell people that exercising cures depression, but I think it can help. I'm not suggesting that someone, if they're on a medication for depression, for, like I said, bipolar, schizophrenia, they don't just switch and say, I'm going to come off my medication to start exercising regularly. I think they should monitor that with a doctor and say, hey, I want to start this exercise program. What do you think? And you and your doctor can talk about it and start exercising regularly and see, maybe you can come off the medication, but I wouldn't just come off completely. Okay, because I think that's a lot of there's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's a lot of people that say, "Oh, you don't need to take that pill just to work out," and that might be true for some people, okay, but not for everyone. I think it's very dangerous advice to tell someone who has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, just, "Oh, come off your medication and just start working out, and you'll be fine." That's dangerous advice. Okay, so I think exercising is great for mental health, absolutely. And I mean, there's numerous studies that show that. So whether it's cardiovascular activity or resistance training or yoga, Pilates, like I said earlier, all good. Okay, because they do release those feel good endorphins, and they re-energize you too, right? Exercise re-energizes you, gives you more energy, right? Makes you more it gives you more productivity, I should say. Okay, so I can see there where the relation between mental health and exercise comes into play. But again, dangerous, very dangerous to tell someone who has been diagnosed with some type of mental health disorder to just come off their medication and all they need is exercise. Because you don't know how severe that person's mental disorder is. So that's why I always tell people who are struggling with severe depression or anxiety to talk to your doctor, who is prescribing you whatever medication you're on, that say, I want to start going on a regular exercise program. Can we monitor my levels as we go and work together, right? So I don't think it can hurt. I think it can definitely help, but I would not take out the medication and just plug in the exercise. Again, I think that's dangerous advice to give. And I've seen a lot of trainers out there, a lot of fitness advocates out there on TikTok and Instagram and saying, oh, you don't need medication, you don't need these pills. Again, dangerous advice. So I would recommend, though, for anyone who does suffer with severe depression and anxiety to slowly start on an exercise program. It's not going to be easy. Working with a trainer can obviously help keep you accountable and motivated to go to your workouts. But it's not going to be easy. But I can see and I can tell you from a lot of people that I work with who do suffer from anxiety and depression that it does help regulate their emotions and their moods. They've told me that. Okay. So absolutely it can help, but I would not use it as a substitution if you have been given a prescription-based drug that you should be following if you do have a mental health disorder. Anyway, that's it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on Monday, June the 17th. As a reminder, if you do have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you are currently taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for supporting my YouTube channel, my in-house coaching business, my online coaching business. I really do appreciate all the support, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.